Our first speaker is Dr Elliot Varoy. Elliot is a senior lecturer in the School of Computer Science at Sydney University, and he's going to take us under the hood of emergent technologies from AGIs to LLMs and NLPs to hopefully describe what that means that I just said, and also talk through the different ways we can think about optimization. Thanks, Elliot.
Perfect. Thank you, Steph. All right, hello everybody. I am Elliot. I'm a lecturer in the School of Computer Science. I'm going to have a chat to you today about AI. I'm going first, so don't worry, I'll bring you up to speed with what AI is if you're wondering what we're talking about. Hopefully we're all aware by now. But what I really want to focus on is this idea of optimizing. Are we optimizing our efficiency when we use AI, or are we simply trying to optimize our time? There's a big difference. This is the graphic design of a computer scientist. I've put graphic design as my passion. Not true, education is my passion. I've got some things I enjoy, and I thought to myself, I'm with it. I'll use AI to create the perfect slide for my About Me at the school retreat. And it created this. It created this, what I think is soulless representation of who I am. There are images there that don't relate to me. They've taken all the detail out of them. It mentions board games in general, but it's not who I am. So what did I do? I showed them this slide, and I went straight back to the one that I created, right? It's not perfect, but it's who I am. It was enough to tell them about my scholarship of teaching and learning, enough to tell them about my favorite board game, Ark Nova. And I got a great reception. I had a good chat to a lot of people straight after. So it wasn't perfect for me to use AI there. It was enough to just show them who I am. Before we can dive into the healthy ways to use AI, let's get an idea of what's actually going on when we create things like this. Now, it's a little scary. It's a little daunting. It's like going back to the first time you learned calculus or something in history, if we're talking about me. A bunch of words, a bunch of language that you don't understand. What I think we really need to focus on is what everybody uses on their day-to-day, generative AI, right? These are our chat GPTs, our DeepSeeks, the things that we're using, but that's actually made up of all of these other words here. And rather than going through one by one and sitting there for an hour lecturing at you, let's use an example that gets shared a lot on the internet. Predictive text. This is an old Nokia, which you might be able to pick up, has been generated by the prompt to the side there, so it is not perfect. Some of the keys are messed up. The text up there doesn't make any sense. But it's this idea that the T9 keyboard was our first kind of experience of predictive text. Just pushing a few numbers got us the word that we were looking for. And this is what people say when they try to tear down AI. They say, that's all it's doing. It's predicting the next word in a sentence. We've had phones that have done that for ages. But it's far more than that. I'm going to prep you very quickly. I'm going to say hello, and I expect a hello back, all right? Hello, everybody. Hello. Perfect. All right, so if I gave you the sentence and I tell you to tell me the next word, I say, I dropped my phone and the screen. Yeah, smashed, cracked, broke. Pretty good, right? AI can generate that. It's not just seeing this sentence before, though. It's actually looking at the context of every word. What does dropped mean? What are the millions of words that have been spoken and sentences that have been spoken that relate to dropped? What are the millions of words and sentences that relate to phone and screen? And what is the highest probability of taking all of these little nodes and finding the next one that's most likely, the connection between them? That's far more powerful than just knowing that that sentence has been said before. So if I give you another one, the house was on fire, so I sent a... Flowers. Flowers? What would we generally send to a house on fire? Fire truck, fireman, yep. The house was on fire, so we sent a message. AI still hasn't quite got it, right? We need to be a little skeptical of what comes out. It might not always be what a human would expect. But one of the more powerful things of Gen AI, the purple spelunkus foswazzled, it's a sentence that's, I hope, never been said before, but AI creates something that kind of makes sense. Foswazzled its tail. It's probably some mythical creature foswazzling its tail, right? So it can do more than just find something that's been said before. It's the context of what it's creating. But this type of generation has led to the rise of work slop. So in the same way that we had brain rot and AI slop, we've evolved to work slop. Now it starts with our AI slop. Now it's so easy to generate images, we don't need to toil for hours, so we create things like Shrimp Jesus, right? Jesus made out of shrimps, because why not? It took me 10 seconds to write the prompt. I'll just do things like this. We don't like this, but it's happening. It's now happening with our work. It's destroying the way that we work. You go to write an email, you've got a few bullet points that summarize what you want to say, but I want this to sound like I've put in the effort. I want to be impressive. Throw it to ChatGPT, get out a whole bunch of sentences, flick it off to the boss. What does the boss do? Puts it into ChatGPT and asks it to be summarized and gets some bullet points straight back out. AI didn't do anything here. If anything, it muddied the waters. It took away from us. And it leads to things like this Harvard Business Review, ideas like this. What our colleagues think of us when we do these sorts of things. They think we're less creative, capable, reliable, trustworthy, intelligent, all things that we should want to see in a colleague. So we need to be careful when we make that decision to use AI. It needs to be intentional. Same thing for programmers. We can see here expectations for economics, expectations for machine learning, expectations for software developers, how productive they're going to be when they use AI. Look at all those high numbers there, high green dots. Even after doing the experiment, these developers thought they were more productive. What was the reality from this research? About 20% less productive. They had a 20% increase in time spent on these activities. So it's not helping for complex tasks. It's great for simple things, but the moment you get into complex development, it's actually damaging. And we can see that it's easy to implement things like general LLMs, general purpose LLMs, getting pretty successful, right? And we need to be cautious of that. But in terms of really embedded task-specific Gen AI, you can see by the time we get down to actually implementing these things, it's a really small percentage at the moment. So we can't just dive in head first. We need to take some time and build up what this really means and how we should use it. And that leads me to my students. So I'm a primarily first-year educator in computer science. This is an example from the assignment. I saw of our 1,200 students, probably around 200 odd use this exact snippet of code that was generated. We interview all of our students. I would say around 100 of those that I interviewed were unable to explain these lines of code. I'm fine with them generating it, but if they can't understand and explain what's going on, how can they verify that this AI is correct? So this is a real problem. We need to think about not just optimizing how quick can I do this assignment, but am I learning while I do it? So what can we do? It's not all doom and gloom, right? AI is powerful. It can be used for good things, but it's also dangerous. We need to be careful with how we use it. We need to use it to augment our workflow, make us more efficient, not just throw it at every task and replace us, right? We need to keep a healthy skepticism. We saw that if a house was on fire, we would not just want to send a message, right? So don't trust that first output from AI. Critically analyze it. Think through, does this make sense? Can I verify it somehow? And then use that output. Or use it for ideas and inspiration and adapt it. And then ignore the need to use AI for every task. There needs to be this jump in between where you sit there and think, can I just do this myself, nice and quick? Or will AI actually augment what I'm doing? It's great for the simple stuff, but the moment you need any amount of critical thinking, you humans are still the best for that. Thanks, everybody.